Two people leave the same bank on the same day. Same branch, same time, same teller window. Both have just received exactly the same amount. An unexpected, generous year-end bonus. The first leaves smiling, already with her cell phone in hand, researching airline tickets and deciding which smartphone to buy first. The second carefully folds the statement, puts it in her coat pocket, and walks silently, already thinking about where she will allocate that money to work for her. 10 years later, these two people live completely different realities. They live in different neighborhoods, sleep with different qualities of sleep, and face the end of the month with opposite emotions. And what separated their paths was not luck, not inheritance, not the amount they received that day. It was what was happening inside each of their heads even before they arrived at the bank. This is the central point of what you're going to understand today. Your financial behavior isn't a matter of discipline or willpower. It's a matter of brain programming. And the good news, pay attention to this because it's one of the most liberating revelations about money, is that this program can be rewritten, not with suffering, not with extreme sacrifice, with method, with repetition, and with an understanding of how your own brain works. Research in behavioral neuroscience shows that about 95% of our financial decisions are made automatically, outside of rational awareness. You don't think, I'll pay in installments because I don't have the money right now. Your brain simply executes a pattern that has been installed over years of repetition, observation, and emotional experience. Surveys conducted with Brazilians indicate that most people who consider themselves bad with money don't have a deficit in intelligence or information. They have neural patterns that associate money with anxiety, scarcity, or immediate pleasure. And until this pattern changes, no finance book in the world will solve the problem. The human brain is designed to survive, not to thrive. It loves the immediate. It hates uncertainty. And it will always prioritize short-term relief over long-term gain, unless you train it to do otherwise. That's exactly what separates those who build wealth from those who spend their entire lives thinking they're one step away from getting their finances in order. I'll show you how this training works in practice. 6 rules. Simple to understand, challenging to apply, truly transformative. Rule 1. Name the enemy before fighting it. The first step in training any behavior is to accurately identify the pattern you want to eliminate. It seems obvious, but most people try to change the outcome without looking at the trigger that causes it. Think about the exact moment you spend without planning. What happens beforehand? Is there a specific emotion, a recurring thought, a repeating situation? Research in economic psychology shows that impulsive spending is rarely about the product itself. It's a response to emotional states, boredom, stress, a feeling of deprivation, a need for belonging, a desire for recognition. The brain uses consumption as an emotional regulator. Buying gives a dopamine spike. It's fast, it's accessible, and the relief is immediate. As long as you don't precisely name this mechanism, it will continue operating on autopilot, draining your account without you realizing it. The exercise is simple. For 2 weeks, write down not only what you spent, but also how you were feeling before spending it. Over time, you will begin to see patterns you never consciously noticed before, and naming a pattern is the first concrete step to stopping it. Rule 2. Create friction. Where there is impulse. The brain always follows the path of least resistance. If spending is easy and saving is difficult, the outcome is already set before you make any conscious decision. The strategy, then, is not to accumulate more willpower. It's to redesign the surrounding environment so that the behavior you want is as easy as possible, and the behavior you don't want is the most laborious. In behavioral science, this has a name: choice architecture. You don't fight the impulse, you change the structure around it so that the impulse loses strength before it reaches the action. In practice, set up automatic transfers for investments on payday before the money enters your checking account. Uninstall shopping apps from your phone. Don't save your card number on websites you frequently visit. Leave your credit card at home when making unplanned purchases. Every second of friction you add between impulse and action is an opportunity for the rational part of your brain to regain control. The lazy brain will give up before overcoming the barrier. Use this to your advantage. Rule 3. Make the future more real than the present. Here's a problem that most financially well-intentioned people face without realizing it. The future is too abstract. You know, intellectually, that you should be saving for retirement. But the version of you 30 years from now seems like a distant stranger, almost a different person. Tonight's dinner seems much more real, much more urgent, much more you. Neuroimaging studies show that when we think about ourselves in the future, the brain activates the same regions it activates when thinking about another person. Literally, you don't identify with your future self in the same way you identify with yourself now. And that's why stealing from the future seems so easy and painless. It's like stealing from a stranger. The solution is to make that future concrete, sensory, and emotionally vivid. Write it down. Visualize it in detail. Calculate real numbers. Don't just say, I want to retire comfortably. I'll say, in 22 years, I want to have enough passive income to pay the rent on a 2-bedroom apartment in a coastal city, travel at least twice a year, and maintain an emergency fund equivalent to 12 months of expenses. When the future has texture, smell, and address, the brain begins to defend it as if it were the present. Rule 4. Use identity as an anchor, not the goal. Here enters one of the most powerful and least explored mechanisms for lasting behavioral change. Most people set financial goals. I want to save 2,000 reais per month. The minority who effectively transform their financial lives define their identity. I'm a person who invests before spending. The difference seems subtle, but in practice, it changes everything. Goals depend on motivation, and motivation is inherently unstable. It fluctuates with mood, context, and circumstances. Identity is structural. When you internalize a behavior as part of who you are, conscious effort decreases drastically because you begin to act in accordance with your self-image, and not against it. This is where Renata and Fabio come in. 2 friends who decided, in the same month, to start investing regularly. Renata set a concrete goal, to save 50,000 reais in 3 years. Fabio decided to become the kind of person who takes care of their own assets. In the first year, they both progressed similarly. In the second year, Renata lost her job and abandoned her goal for 6 months. After all, the goal had become impossible given the new reality. Fabio, even with reduced income, continued investing smaller amounts because, for him, stopping completely meant betraying who he had decided to become. 5 years later, Fabio had twice the assets of Renata. Not because he earned more, because he didn't stop behaving like the person he had chosen to be. Rule 5. Take advantage of the power of immediate reward. Remember that the brain loves instant gratification. Stop fighting it. Start using it to your advantage. The main reason people abandon healthy financial habits is that the pleasure comes too late and the effort comes now. You invest today, but the results appear years later. You cut expenses today, but financial freedom seems too far away to compensate for the deprivation you feel in the present. The solution isn't to ignore this asymmetry. It's to create immediate and legitimate rewards for the behaviors you want to consolidate. This can be as simple as a symbolic ritual, a special cup of coffee every time you end the month in the black, a trip or activity you plan for yourself when you hit a monthly savings goal. The brain learns by association. If saving starts to be associated with something pleasurable and recent, resistance gradually decreases. The habit begins to take root in the deeper layers of automatic behavior, and at some point, this is the real turning point. The act of saving itself begins to generate satisfaction. You no longer need the external reward because the behavior has already been fully integrated. Rule 6. Protect progress with systematic review. The final mistake that destroys all previous work is the absence of conscious feedback. You change your behavior, see some results, relax, gradually revert to old patterns, and weeks later, wonder why you can't maintain the consistency that seemed so natural at the beginning. The brain needs constant feedback to consolidate any new neural pattern. Without review, without clear awareness of progress, it simply reverts to default behavior. It's the path of least resistance, again, working against you. Establish a fixed time each week, 15 minutes, no more than that, to review what came in, what went out, and what was invested. Not to punish yourself for what didn't work, but to consciously record progress and keep the new pattern alive in your working memory. Research on habit formation shows that the simple act of monitoring a behavior significantly increases the likelihood of it being maintained over time. The weekly review isn't financial bureaucracy. It's the mirror that tells your brain, this is the new you, and it's working. Let's go back to the bank scene. Those 2 people leaving through the same door with the same bonus in their pockets. The difference between them wasn't the amount they received that day. It was in the years of small decisions made earlier that had built, neuron by neuron, synapse by synapse, a different brain. One that reacted to money with anxiety and an uncontrollable impulse. And another that reacted with clarity, patience, and purpose. You don't change your financial life when you learn more about finance. You change it when your brain starts reacting differently to the same old situations. The question that remains is not, why can't I be more disciplined? The right question, the only one that truly matters, is what program is running in my head right now and what am I going to do today to start rewriting it? Because the brain that brought you this far is exactly the same one that can take you much further, as long as you consciously and methodically decide who is in control